Hello, hi, my name is Francesca and I'm an Italian knitter. Today I would like to show you everything I knitted in 2022. I have two big piles in front of me. I was looking at these piles and I don't think I can see like a clear color scheme actually. I don't know if you can. It seems like there's a lot of like muted shades, but there's no like particular color that stands out, I don't think. Cool, let's go. First thing I knit, or I guess I finished in 2022, was the Novice sweater by PetiteKnit. I knit this in Drops Air, and this was my first time using Drops Air. I only used Drops Air for this sweater, and it is extremely soft because that's kind of the nature of the yarn and the main characteristic. However, it peels quite a lot. I don't mind de-peeling. I have a de-peeler type thing, and so I do that like once in a while and it's fine. I've seen a lot of people holding Drops Air together with a mohair strand, and I feel like that gives it a little more integrity and strength to the fabric, so you don't have to de-peel it as much. So that's an alternative. I find this is so cozy. I really appreciate this kind of neck. Is it called a mock neck? Maybe? It is very soft in terms of like the feel of the fabric, and so it doesn't bother me at all to be so close and up to my neck area. Actually, I do like it more than if it was like a folded over or folded down collar. So the pattern actually gives you the chance to fold it down. However, I didn't go ahead and do this because I really liked this type of neck. This is the only sweater that I have with a high neck, and I feel like this yarn is the perfect combination with this neck because it doesn't bother me at all. I made it quite long in terms of the body length. It covers a good amount of my butt, which is I think slightly longer than I usually knit my sweaters or cardigans. However, I feel like for like a house sweater, just like a cozy long sleeve and like high neck sweater, having a long body is a good thing. I put elastic actually at the bottom because the bottom of the sweater was kind of flaring out a little bit for me for some reason, probably because I think there are no decreases before the ribbing or something like that, so the body kind of is straight, and for some reason for me was flaring out a little bit, probably because my bottom rib is not the neatest or tightest, and so I just put like a teeny tiny elastic at the bottom here to have it like slightly closer to my body. I still gladly wear this to these days, which is exactly a year after I made this, and very cozy. Recommend the yarn. I don't know if I would do another sweater in just Drops Air because the fabric peels quite a lot. Probably I would. I would probably do it again. Next up is my Novice Cardigan Chunky Edition by PetiteKnit. So it's kind of the cardigan counterpart of the sweater I just showed you. This one is a thicker garment. It has the same Drops Air, but also a strand of Drops brushed alpaca silk, which makes it quite thick and quite actually sturdy. So this doesn't peel as much as the other sweater. And I think it was my first ever cardigan I've ever knitted, and probably the only cardigan I've knit since this one. I feel like this is a very, very cozy knit. I actually do not love the marling look that this has. The marling effect, is marling the right word? The fact that it's not like a flat collar, but it has like a little bit of a mix, comes actually from the Drops Air, the main yarn. It was already marled. So I don't know, for some reason it gives it not like a super professional, polished look. It gives it, I think, more of a homey, cozy, relaxed look, which I'm all about it, so I guess I'm not complaining, but I feel like you would not wear this at like a super elegant dinner or anything like that. For that, I would choose like a more of a flat collar for some reason. I don't know if just me. The buttons I used are from Martina from We Grow Wild, who has a podcast here on YouTube. I don't think she was actually officially selling them at the time, but I was able to kind of buy some from her anyway. I think I was maybe the first customer, I'm not sure. But since then, she actually started making these and other accessories officially, and you can actually buy them. They smell very good, and they, I think, go well with the look of the cozy cardigan. I wear this mostly in the house, which is anyway where I spend the vast majority of my time. I made this quite long as well for an extra coverage. I don't 100% think I love the neckline when I close the cardigan up. I don't know actually, maybe. I think it's very kind of tight around my neck. I think for cardigans I prefer a V neck. Yeah, so most times I think I have it slightly open here. Sleeves are quite long, which I do like in the very kind of like cold days. After those two garments, I made an accessory. These are a pair of fingerless gloves that I actually test knitted for Izzy from Orsa Knits. These are a companion to her Claudia sweater, and they have twisted rib at the bottom and at the ribbing, and they're just very cozy. These are a strand of Drops Flora, which is a fingering weight yarn, and a strand of Drops brushed alpaca silk. So far, 100% of my knits have been knitted in Drops yarn. So you can tell that I was really loving it at the beginning of the year. I still do actually, but I also tried other yarns and other brands. I don't know how to show this to you. These are extremely cozy. I use them for the bike and even when I'm just walking around outside, because you can still use your fingers for your phone or to grab stuff, get your keys out of your bag and things like that, but they still kind of have a decent amount of coverage. I promised myself I would make another pair for me to just switch them and give these a wash while having another pair to use, but I've not done that. Maybe soon. Next up is my first no frills sweater by PetiteKnit of the year. I made another one that you'll see later on because I do truly love this pattern. The yarn is Drops Flora, again the fingering weight yarn, and the Drops Kid Silk Mohair. These held up very, very well. I don't think there's really like a lot of pilling. There's like a few pills here and there. I have not depilled any of this for the sake of this video because we're friends and you don't care about my pills. But I mean, probably I would depill this one if I were to wear it outside for dinner, let's say. Maybe I would, maybe I won't. You'll never know. The no frills sweater is an oversized, chill, relaxed type of raglan. It is a very simple one. It does not have a folded over collar, it's just a very simple one layer collar. It has a raglan increases and a very simple like finishings at the ribbing here and at the bottom. Very cozy, 100% recommend this pattern. I've made several. You would have to love an oversized look and like the relaxed fit. If you don't as much, then you would have to pick a smaller size than the recommended one for you. But it's definitely doable. I think this is one of my top 3 most worn sweaters that I made this year. Boom! Briefly moving on to more of a summer knit. This is my first ever, I think, summer garment that I knit. It's made in Drops Saffron. Again, another Drops yarn. I didn't realize how many of my knits were from Drops, especially at the beginning of the year. I'm not a very adventurous person, as you can tell. Either way, this is the Skagen tee by Witre design, and it's a bottom-up construction, so you actually start from the bottom, which I now have confirmed is not my favorite style of knitting. I much prefer starting from the top and moving downwards so that I can try on the in progress object at every step of the way. But I did wanted to try, and I think at the time this was the best looking t-shirt pattern that I was able to find. I actually have a vlog about the process of knitting this piece and all the errors and adjustments that I made if you want to check it out. One of the modifications I've done is that this pattern actually is made as a cardigan, so you actually knit flat and you then close it with teeny tiny buttons, which I find it so very cute. However, I couldn't be bothered to actually knit and purl, so I just knitted in the round as a shirt and I didn't bother with buttons. I think you can tell from the video here that the neckline came out quite wide. I don't think it's particularly deep, like it doesn't feel very scandalous here. Also because I don't have a lot of chest. But it's not plunging neckline, it's just very wide. So it actually shows my bra straps, which I don't mind, especially if it's in the summer and I have a swimsuit underneath, or maybe if I have a cuter undergarment here, like a cuter bra here. I mean, this is not bad, but it doesn't match probably the color very well of the shirt. It's very comfortable, but it's just like very wide. One of the issues here, I think, is that I also chose to knit a size up because my gauge was a little bit tighter than the recommended one. So I think the wide neckline might be because of, I don't know, my modifications, or maybe I didn't do a tight enough bind off when I went to bind off the collar. I don't know what I want to do about this. I'm thinking about putting either like an elastic around the neckline, or maybe do like a crochet reinforcement in the inside of the ribbing to make it a little bit tighter. I don't know. If you have suggestions, you let me know. Thank you. And I wear this tucked in, I think. Is that true? Yeah. Because again, this is also quite straight. I feel like it looks a little bit better if I tucked it in. Otherwise, it's a bit like too of a tunic-y, flowy style. So this is good to me. Moving on. I mean, we're moving on, but we're technically still in the drops world. This is in drops Lima, and it's a DK weight yarn, but the pattern, maybe you can tell already, this is a no frills sweater by PetiteKnit. The modification I've done is that I use twisted rib at the neckline and the cuffs and at the body. And I just wanted to try it out. I had finished my Claudia gloves, the fingerless mittens, right before starting this, and so I was kind of obsessed with the look of twisted rib, even though I quite hate it in terms of knitting experience because the stitches are quite tight when you knit them through the back loop, which is how you achieve the twisted rib. So I love the look, honestly, especially at the neckline. The no frills sweater actually has a pretty wide neckline, and if you see pictures on Ravelry or on other videos, you might tell that it is usually quite like a big neckline, and I feel like the twisted rib actually pulls it in a little bit, so it actually looks pretty good, I think, in this garment specifically. I started with this piece to make the sleeves slightly shorter, and I think since then my sleeves have mostly been this length instead of covering my hand, because I feel like for working at my laptop or just doing things, this is more comfortable. You don't have to kind of like pull the sleeves up to do stuff. This is the start of my sleeve length preference. I wore this the other day between Christmas and New Year's Eve at my parents' house. I was there for a few hours, and I don't know, I chose this because it really screams relaxation and coziness and being comfortable. As you can tell, this is very oversized and roomy, and it's good for knitting on the sofa. So you put this on, sit on the sofa and knit away or chat away or drink tea, and this will keep you company and make you comfortable. Love it. Still love every detail. The yarn is pilling a little bit, so this is actually, as I mentioned, a single strand of Drops Lima, which is a DK weight yarn, so it's not made with fingering plus a mohair, which is how I knit most of my sweaters, I think. The lack of a mohair strand makes it a little bit more appealing, but it's nothing crazy. I would use this yarn again, and I think I will use this yarn again. It's very affordable and they have lots of different colors. So, small tea break. I watched Caroline's Knits video, like this one, like the 2022 roundup of all the things she knitted, and she was drinking a glass of wine, and I think that's something that she did the year prior while filming that video too. And I don't know, I like this tradition that she has, but it is very early for me here. It's 11 a.m. and so I don't feel like drinking wine. If it was noon, maybe closer to lunch, I think that's a time where I can have alcohol, but like in the morning before noon, I cannot do that. So just very hot tea for me, which is pretty lovely too. I'm pretty proud of myself so far because I do have a laptop here with me with Ravelry open, but so far I have not had to check what yarn I use for each of the knits. For this one I had to think a little second, but I think I have it. I think I remember. This is the Whitmoor sweater by Amy Lowden. The yarn is Sundance Garn Sunday and Sundance Garn Team Silk Mohair. So combination of fingering wool and a mohair, which is kind of my favorite fabric. I really love the look of this. It's quite like a more fitted garment. So if you compare it with the no frills I showed you before, you'll notice that I went for a more like fitted and close to the body sizing. And I think for some reason the lace looked better in pictures when it was a little bit more kind of fitted to the person wearing it. And I stand by that decision. I think I would 100% make it another one because the addictiveness of the lace pattern is something that I've not encountered in other patterns. This is just like you want to do another round. You want to do another round and boom, yoke is completed. I knit the yoke over the course of a week where my husband was away for work, and so all my evenings, or almost all my evenings, were spent working on this, and it was blissful because I could just immerse myself in the pattern, and the chart was not super needed after a while. Like I didn't have to look at the chart, and it was just like a pleasure to move along. The only thing I don't love is that the pattern doesn't have short rows to raise the back. If you move around, this kind of rides up. And it's because it doesn't have short rows at the back to lower the front neckline. I think it's the easy modification to make, and if I were to knit another one now, I can just add short rows by looking at another pattern that has short rows written in and just kind of apply the same technique. I actually love to do German short rows, which is what the no frills sweater pattern calls for example, but any short rows instructions that you can kind of copy from another pattern, you can apply to this one. So I think I would like to do that. The other thing I would do if I were to go back is use twisted rib for the neckline and all the ribbings, because I think with the lace would look more polished and more put together. I think I would blend in with the yoke pattern a little bit more seamlessly. Maybe this is just in my mind, but I don't know, my ribbing is not the neatest. So I feel like the yoke would look better with a twisted rib close by. Other than that, 100% recommended. Onto summer knits. Yeah, maybe not summer knits per se, because I see like a few more woolly things coming my way from the two piles on the floor, but this one is definitely something that you cannot wear by itself in the winter. Duh. So this is the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maed Designs, and I extended it into more of a regular sized camisole, like a regular length camisole, by just like knitting it for longer. As you can tell, it is quite like fitted. It's not uncomfortable, but it is fitted, which I think would suit like a bralette length better. So the tightness here around like my belly area, I think it's okay for like being at home and doing yoga, but I feel like to wear this outside, I would prefer like a more flowy fit, more comfortable. Like if you eat a big lunch, it's okay, it has room for your belly to grow and things like that. This one is more like for the gym, I think. We successfully completed the first pile. Actually, not really, but like almost. I don't know why I was happy about it. Either way, this is the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie Maed Designs. And the yarn I used is Sunless Garn Double Sunday. So it's their DK weight yarn. So it's just one strand, and I think you can tell there's like a good amount of peeling. Again, I have not de-peeled any of this before filming this video, which I'm sorry about. But I can kind of talk about the wear of the fabric, which is a good thing, I guess. The overall fit is quite enjoyable. However, I don't know if it's my favorite fit ever. So it is fairly like roomy up here at the top, and it tapers down. Is that the right verb? Tapering? Yeah, it tapers down, and even the sleeves are quite like fitted. So they do start quite roomy, but then they're quite like closely fitting to this part here. It is very convenient when you need to wear a coat or like a more fitted coat on top. For some reason, I don't wear this as much, and I think it's exactly because it feels a little bit tight around this part of my body, and I don't know, it's a bit distracting, I think. Like I can feel that I have like a bracelet or something here. So for some reason I don't reach for it in my wardrobe as much. However, the color is beautiful. It is like a sage green type of green. Words. And the yarn is very, very soft. I also really like the neckline. This was a tubular cast on, and I feel like it gives it a different look here at the top. So I enjoy that. I will keep the sweater on while I show you a couple of accessories. This is the Grain headband by Mirella Moments, which is my favorite headband designer. That's very specific, but I really truly love all of her headbands. If you're looking for a headband pattern, hers are all free and stunning. I made this Grain headband in a few different versions for myself, for my daughter, so 100% recommended. This yarn is a mystery yarn that my friend donated to me. It was a leftover from one of her projects. We think it's a cotton yarn, just in a very pretty pearl gray, which I think goes well with lots of garments and coats. I also have it in a different color. This is also a mystery yarn. However, this was in my stash for some reason. I think it was donated to me from my mom's cousin a long while ago, and I think it's either half acrylic and half wool or something similar, so it's a little bit cozier than the cotton one I just showed, but the pattern is exactly the same. We're now officially done with pile number 1, and this is the first garment that I picked from pile number 2 that I have here at my feet. And this is also my favorite t-shirt I've ever knitted. It is a Cumulus Tee by PetiteKnit, and the yarn is Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in a lovely color, which is like in a mustardy ochre color. I love everything about it actually. The fit is lovely, it's roomy, but I feel like it's quite flattering. Is it true? I can wear it either tucked in or just on top of my jeans, doesn't matter too much. It has a lovely I-cord at the bottom, which makes sure the garment doesn't flare out, which is something that I do not appreciate in the body of sweaters or t-shirts. I like when it kind of like it hugs my figure here. The sleeves are quite long compared to other t-shirts that I have in my wardrobe that are store-bought, but I quite like it. It's a little bit more polished and put together and classic and dainty. I don't know if that's true, but that's in my mind as always. There's an I-cord at all the edges. that kind of ties everything together. I really love the look of this. This is a fall spring type garment for me, maybe underneath a jean jacket or just a lightweight jacket or like a cardigan that I keep open or something like that. Unfortunately, being like cotton merino, so cotton but also merino, so wool, it's not appropriate for me in the summer, and it's way too warm and I would be sweating profusely if I were to wear this in the summertime. But I still wear it and enjoy it in those kind of in-between seasons. And you might see me sometime looking on the side here. I have a small mirror just to see if I have, I don't know, something in between my teeth or anything like it, but I don't think I do. So 5 out of 5 stars for this pattern and this shirt, and you'll see another one afterwards of the same pattern. Spoilers. On to another PetiteKnit pattern. This is the Cumulus top. So the t-shirt style is the Cumulus Tee. This is the Cumulus top. So confusing. The yarn I used, I don't think it's worth mentioning to you the actual name. This is a crochet appropriate yarn, very thin, that I found at my local yarn store, and the owner actually did explicitly say, not great for knitting, better for crocheting, but I didn't listen and I kind of went with it. It was kind of like a rope, like very tight on my fingers while knitting on it because it doesn't have stretch at all, but it's also quite coated or something. I don't know, it was kind of cutting on my fingers a little bit while knitting on it. And I think looking here in my mirror on the side, I feel like it looks more like an undergarment. Like you would not maybe wear this outside. However, I wore it a lot this summer with high-waisted skirts. So I would put these on top and just have a high-waisted skirt, either like a red or a green one. I remember looking stunning. I guess I was also tan and relaxed because it was the summer, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I remember being very comfortable in the very hot weather because your kind of armpits and shoulders are exposed, and so you're not putting extra fabric on top. The pattern is very enjoyable, very simple, and so definitely I see myself making more of these in different colors. The only thing I remember being kind of a slog is the I-cord edging, the straps as well. This is all like I-cord and it's, I don't know, very boring in terms of knitting experience. Looks good though. You can make it maybe a little bit more oversized if you want like a more relaxed look, but this for me is, I think, a good summer staple. It goes well with different colors since I picked quite a neutral shade and recommended. Hi. So I realized that you will hate me forever if I have you watch a video that is 1,000,000 hours long. And so what I will do is I will split this 2022 knitting roundup in 2 parts. And so part 1 is done. Thank you for being with me throughout this first half of my knits. And I hope you have the patience to watch part 2 as well. There are some good knits in there, a couple of my favorites actually, so thank you.